This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas, and here is a quick, cozy slipper that you can knit for the troops. You'll be absolutely amazed at how fast this makes up. It's very, very thick and warm and soft. To begin with, depending on the size slipper that you're making, you need to do a zigzag row. For this particular size, I am using 43 stitches, arranged for 1x1 ribbing, and the end needles are on the main bed. The machine is a Brother bulky machine. The yarn is a worsted weight yarn. It takes less than 4 ounces for most of the sizes, and I am going to set the machine for plain knitting and on its very tightest tension and do a zigzag row. I'm pulling the yarn down far enough so I'll have some to sew with later. Once the zigzag row is done, and I've hung my clothespin on the end of the yarn, I put the comb in, match it up with number 30 because this is a 60 stitch wide comb. Push it up in between the beds. I partially remove the wire, and then I'll put the wire back in. Let that drop down. I'm going to use 3 large ribber weights to weight this project. Now I need to do the circular selvage, and to do that I'm going to put the right PR button up and push the left part button on the main bed, and then I knit 3 rows. Now I'm going to put the carriage back on plain knitting, bring it up to tension 1, cancel the part button here as well, and change the row counter to 0, 0, 0. I knit 1 row from right to left. I want the machine to tuck on the ribber only, so I put up the left PR slider and I bring this lever from R to P. Now I'm going to knit 90 rows for this size. Once my 90 rows of English rib are finished, I need to do 12 rows of plain knitting. So I put this lever from PR to in and put the slide from P back to R. And then all I do is knit that last 12 rows. After the 12 rows are done, it needs to come off on waste yarn, so I'm going to take the end. I cut a long enough end so I can sew with it. I'll tie the waste yarn to the end. This is just a really lazy way to change colors. And then I will take my latch tool, put it between the beds, and grab the yarn and bring it down. I'll just keep pulling it down until only that purple waste yarn is still in the feeder. And then I knit some rows of waste yarn to take it off the machine. After removing the weights and the comb, this is what my piece of knitting looks like. English rib from the bottom up to right here, and then plain rib for a little ways, and then some waste yarn. Now I'll show you how to sew this thing together. First of all, I need to gather the toe. This is going to be gathered up right here. I'm going to cut the knot away that's holding the regular yarn to the waste yarn, and I'll sew with the loose end of the garment yarn. I thread a tapestry needle, and then you can see the individual stitches that are V shapes, and you want to just get the ones on this side of the waste yarn and just poke the needle in each one to gather them up. We're going to get the stitches that are on the back side in a minute. And I don't gather yet, I just get the thread running through them. I started on this side end and I ran stitches from the left to the right because I'm left-handed. You could go right to left, but you're going to go the same direction twice. I turn it over because I'm going the same direction twice. It's going to make 2 circles, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm sticking the needle in the middle of each V-shaped knit stitch so that I can gather it up. The idea is to gather it in 2 circles, to gather the knits in a circle and then on the other side to gather the purls in a circle. Okay, once they're threaded through, I need to remove the waste yarn just by unraveling it. Now the waste yarn is removed, all the stitches are on the thread, and I begin to pull the thread up. This loop goes away and it pulls up, and it gathers it into a tight little circle, and it looks good on that side. Looks good on this side after it's gathered up enough. You just have to keep working the tightness through. Now once I have the toe gathered, I am going to sew up the foot for a ways. It's just a mattress stitch. I go 1 stitch from the edge and I find the horizontal bar and bring my yarn through it. Then I go to the other side, unroll this a little, find the horizontal bar on the other side. After the first one, it's easy. Then go to this side, catch the next horizontal bar, then this side, catch the next horizontal bar. I will keep doing that all the way through the plain ribbing part of this. After I've done a few stitches, I will tighten up, but I'll be loose for a while. Then I'll do a few more stitches and tighten up. Now, there is a definite ridge when I get to the point where the English rib begins. It will be quite obvious. And I want to get the 2 sides to match. At that point I like to pull up, and now let's look at how to do the English rib part of this. It's really the same. You're still going 1 stitch from the edge down in this groove, but you're really getting 2 threads. You're really getting 2 rows. The English rib is rather packed vertically because 1 row knits through and the other row tucks. Now I measure to see if I've gone far enough up the foot, and I have. What I'll do to finish off this seam is I'll poke the yarn into the opposite side, just the in but not the out of what the next stitch would be. Pull it up fairly tightly, and then I need to turn it inside out so that I can hide the end of the yarn on the inside. So that's how the top seam on the slipper looks. Now my favorite part of sewing up this slipper is actually the heel. It's really easy and it turns out great. You're just going to fold it in half like this. There's a definite curl where the stitches sort of go around the edge, and that's what I'm going to catch. I'm over here and I'm going to catch the first 2 of these curly loops on this side. There's a place where the stitches, which are curling over the edge, they get kind of close together, and that's where I put my needle. I go in and I pick up the next 2 stitches on the opposite side. Then I go to the other side, go in where I came out, and get the next 2 rolly stitches on the edge. Anyway, I keep doing this the length of the back of the foot, and when I get to the end, I'm just going to turn around and sew back a little ways, and then hide the yarn inside of the slipper by taking some stitches in and out of the knitting on the inside. So that is the quick and cozy slipper.